Hello again, my name is David Watts from Lenovo Press, and I have with me today Adam Harris. Adam is the Worldwide Product Marketing Manager for ThinkSystem servers. How you doing, Adam?
Doing well, David. Thanks so much for having me today.
Welcome. So today we're going to be talking about the ThinkSystem SR860 V2. This is our new 4-socket 4U server.
Yes.
So Adam, tell me about this server. Why would you want to have a server that's with 4 sockets? This is a beast.
It is quite the beast. Within our ThinkSystem server portfolio, the 4-socket systems, the 2 and 4-socket scalable systems, we're looking at applications that are really compute intensive, really memory intensive, and with the 4U, we look at applications that require a lot of onboard storage or GPU support as well. So you're looking at transactional databases, AI and inference learning applications, enterprise resource planning and customer resource management applications. Anything that requires that really heavy-duty CPU and compute, and the ability to scale up your environments as well.
Right.
Within.
Yes, this server has 4 of the new Intel Xeon 3rd generation scalable processors, so it packs quite a lot of power.
It does indeed.
In a 4U container. So in this video, we're going to take you through the components. We're going to start with the components at the front, and then look at the back, and then we'll open up and take all the bits out to show you what's inside the server.
Perfect.
All right, so at the front of the server, you can see this server is very heavily configured in terms of storage.
Yes.
This particular model has 32 drive bays, but the server actually can take up to 48 2.5-inch hot swap drive bays, right?
Correct, and we support all drive configurations from SAS, SATA, and NVMe. What David pointed out earlier here is that 2 of these backplanes are AnyBay backplanes, or I guess it's AnyBay backplanes. And
yep.
Yep.
These first 16 drives here are AnyBay. And then this one here, these 8 here are SAS SATA, and in this configuration, these 8 are SAS SATA as well.
Yes,
yeah.
And it is important to note too that this top row can be configured with up to 24 NVMe drives, in addition to the lower row, which can support those an additional 24 SAS or SATA drives.
So you might use the 24 NVMe drives if you have a need for low latency storage, and perhaps in a tiering configuration with the SAS SATA drives. As a separate tier.
Yes, yeah. If you're, once again within the system, if you're tiering off to a capacity tier and you're looking for those really, really dense storage configurations, that's where you can really mix and match and configure it to how you want.
Yeah. So yes, a lot of internal storage in this system, taking advantage of the 4U space of the server, all hot swap, all front accessible. Also at the front, I'll show you the usual connectors here. There's 2. USB ports, USB 3.1 Gen 1, 5 gigabits per second, and then a USB 2. Also doubles as the xClarity mobile connector.
Yes, and with the xClarity mobile connector, you can actually connect your cell phone into that USB port and look at system diagnostics on the system. So once again, with anything with our xClarity mobile platform, you can look at system health. You can look up the MAC addresses for the xClarity controller, you name it.
Yeah, so you simply plug your phone into that USB port, and away you go. Yeah,
absolutely.
And also on this side, there's the ID button and there's a power button, and this actually unit is a slide-out integrated diagnostic port display. You may have seen this on our earlier SR950 servers.
Yes.
This display gives you easy access to a lot of the information about the server.
Absolutely, similar information that you would see with the xClarity mobile application, but really, looking at what firmware version you're running on the system, what system alerts are running on the system as well, and once again, kind of any of that comprehensive system information that you're looking for on the fly.
Yeah. Not just as always as accessible there. Some models may not have that, so check your configuration to see. Yeah, there's also a slide-out panel here which gives you the information about the MAC address and IP address of the xClarity controller. We'll talk about the management features in a little bit.
Perfect.
I think that's on the standard VGA port on the front of the server as well. So that's pretty much everything on the front. Let's spin it around and have a look at the back of it. Past there, okay, yes. Okay, so at the back, Adam, on your side, 4 hot swap redundant power supplies.
Correct. In this configuration, we have 1,800 watt power supplies, and for lower level configs, we can go down to 750 watt power supplies as well. But they are N+1 redundant, so you can have one go down and still have the system remain functional.
Right. Yes. Now, the majority of the space will be consumed with PCI slots, rear accessible PCI slots, PCI 3.0. by 16 or by 8. The server supports up to 14 PCIe slots in addition to the OCP.
Yes.
So there's actually a lot of I/O capability in this server. One of the main benefits of this server is that it supports GPUs. We'll talk about that in a moment.
Sure.
But up to 8 single-wide GPUs can be configured in this server to give you really quite a powerful CPU package.
Absolutely.
Yeah. In addition, usual ports at the bottom here, serial port, VGA port, 2 USB 3.1 ports. This is our remote management connector for Clarity controller.
Yes.
Yep. And then here's the OCP adapter. The OCP is a new industry standard form factor. This one's a 4-port gigabit controller.
And we can go up to 10 or 25 gigabit connections as well within that OCP standard. And once again, with Intel going to that OCP 3.0 standard, it just means greater serviceability and serviceability features because you're not using just parts are easier to procure.
Yeah. It's an easy unit to access from the rear of the server. You don't have to open up the server to get access to it. Yeah. This particular configuration has some, I think these are 25 gig Ethernet connectors. Now, what's also interesting, Adam, is these new drives here. These are 7mm hot swap NVMe or SATA SSD drives.
Yes, and so the salient features of these are that if you want to configure the boot capabilities within the system for these 7mm hot swap 7mm hot swap drives, it does give you a little more flexibility in regards to how you want to configure those boot capabilities. And once we take this cover off, we do have M.2 support as well.
So the big advantage of this is you've got hot swap rear accessible drives, but you're not consuming any of your data drives at the front of the server.
Right.
But you've still got redundancy and accessibility of your OS boot drives.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, and they can be configured as a RAID 1 pair. So so that's a very handy feature to have, and you'll see that more and more on our servers. We have those in the SR665 and SR645 servers already.
Yes.
So you'll see that more of the ThinkSystem servers as we bring them out. Yeah. So that's the front of the system. Sorry, that's the back of the system.
The back of the system.
Let's spin around and open up inside. The big reveal. So you can see it's quite a densely packed system. Let's remove this air baffle and we can talk about the components that you can see here. So these two spaces here will take the GPUs. These are our upper trays.
Yes.
Each of those will hold either 4 single-wide GPUs or 2 double-wide GPUs, so a total of 8 or 4 double-wide GPUs.
Correct. Yeah. So the single-width GPUs, the NVIDIA T4s are what we commonly see in there. The double-width GPUs, you're looking at the V100S GPUs in there. And as we said before, you're looking at a preponderance of AI and inference applications that are being run on 4-socket scalable servers like this, which makes it, just allows you to configure the server to handle a lot of modern enterprise applications that we're seeing our customers utilize.
Yeah, so this particular configuration doesn't have the GPUs, but those can be added as options, or you can configure the server with the GPUs already installed.
Correct.
Yeah. Also on top is a space for 4 of the supercaps. These are the power modules that drive or connect to the RAID controllers in the server. So they go in that space there, maximize the cooling coming in from the front. Also this space here, let me pop this open. This is the area where if you wanted to use M.2, the M.2 would be mounted on these mount points here and would be connected, and you use that instead of the 7mm drives as your OS boot drives.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So this supports an adapter that can have 1 or 2 M.2 cards if you wish to use those for boot.
Correct.
Yeah. You can see this is the 7mm drive enclosure that's sticking at the back, and that's what these 2 cables are going down to the system board for. Okay, so that's this portion. Let's remove the enclosure for the GPU portion. Okay, so underneath here we have, this is the lower half of the server now. So you can see two of the processors. So Adam, this is actually processor 3 and 4.
Correct.
The other two are actually underneath.
Yeah, so we've got this wonderfully dense configuration of our CPUs and memory DIMMs within the system, and we can support up to 4 third generation Intel Xeon Scalable processors.
These are the Cooper Lake 6, right?
Yes, Cooper Lake 6, as some may have heard, and we can actually support up to the 250 watt processors in here, and that really gets down to some fantastic thermal engineering done on behalf of the Lenovo engineers. You're looking at the 8 hot swappable fan modules in here. So as David was talking about before, you have some modules with just one fan and some modules with 2 fans as well.
So the fan enclosure is N+1 redundant. So with 8 fans, you can suffer one fan failure without any impact to the system. You can, of course, when you need to service one of the modules that has 2 fans, it allows you to remove both at the same time for a short period of time while you're replacing the fans. But yes, that unit is there. Now, what also draw your attention to these copper pipes here for the processors. So this is a standard processor heatsink here, and we've got additional satellite heat sinks that are connected via these copper tubes, and they have liquid integrated into the tubing. And the idea is that the heat generated from the processor is drawn away from the central heat sink to these satellite heat sinks, and to allow additional cooling. And we have this for our high-end processors to ensure that even with such a dense configuration, we've got the amount of cooling necessary.
Yeah, with the dense configurations, you really start to run into thermal configurations for systems, not as well engineered as this. And you're looking at that with the high wattage CPUs, but also the incredible amount of memory DIMMs that you have in here as well. And David, we have 12 DIMMs per CPU populated with our DIMMs, and because we have 4 processors, you have a total of 48 DIMMs, and with 256 gig our DIMM capacities for those memory DIMMs, you can fit up to 12 terabytes of memory capacity in there as well.
So pretty substantial, Now the server also supports the persistent memory, right? This is the Intel Optane Persistent Memory 200 series, the new 200 series.
Yeah.
So, try saying that.
Yeah, quite a mouthful.
Yeah. Now, what's the benefit of having persistent memory? We've got, in such configuration, you would have 6 persistent memory DIMMs per processor, and then 6 regular RDIMMs per processor. Why would you do that?
Sure. So persistent memory is a really powerful tool, especially for very latency sensitive in-memory database applications. So if you're looking at a database application such as SAP HANA, which takes full advantage of the app direct mode within those persistent memory modules, you're allowing an incredible amount of density of that data to sit within those memory modules instead of sitting on onboard storage or an external storage, which just allows you to pull that data into the processors much faster. And once you're reducing latency, and ultimately you're just improving that application performance and database response.
Okay, so let's remove this is the expansion tray where processors 3 and 4 are. Let's remove that and have a look what's underneath that. So let's take out the fans. Okay, remove this like so. We've already removed some of the cables to make it a bit easier to get to. Just pull that back. All right, you've got those. And then we just lift this out like so. Right. I'll pass you that if I may. So these now again are the processors. This is processor 1 and 2, again each with 12 DIMMs. Now, so you can configure the system with just 2 CPUs if you like.
Yes, and this goes back to what we were talking about earlier with the system scalability features. So scalability with the memory and processing capability, with the storage capability, and with the GPU capability. So really the system allows you to grow as your enterprise application needs grow as well.
So you start with 2 and 24 DIMMs, and then go up to 4 processors and 48 DIMMs if you need. Yeah, excellent. Yep. All right, so I'm also showing here, these are the 4 UPI connectors that allow the 4 processors to connect together. The server is configured into a mesh network, right?
Yes, and that ultimately, once again, improves the response time, improves the communication between the processors, and ultimately, once again, for those really latency sensitive and compute heavy applications that we're seeing, that's where you're going to see the benefit of that mesh topology.
Yeah. Okay. Then at the back of the server, this is a riser card. This one has a, this is the 25, dual port 25 gig. Oh, I'm sorry, take it back. This is actually the RAID card. Yes, the RAID connection's just there, and then there's space for additional slots underneath. The three onboard, if I turn around, there's three onboard PCIe slots. It's a 2x8 and a by 16. The additional connectors here on the system board, this connector here and this connector here, these cables, and there were two additional similar connectors on the expansion tray.
Yes.
Those provide the direct NVMe connections. Right? So you can have 16 NVMe drives at the front of the server that are direct connect, and they are routed through to those connections.
Or 24 NVMe drives at the front of the server.
Yes, yes, 16 with 16 direct connect.
Yes, yeah, yeah.
About a total of 24 if you're using additional cards. Yeah. Yes. Yep. And I think, let's see, we should also talk about the xClarity controller, right?
Absolutely.
It's built in, that's this chip just here. Tell me about that. What's the value of xClarity controller?
Sure. So xClarity controller is what you see on many of our two-socket and four-socket scalable systems, and ultimately that's the management controller for the system. And what the power with the xClarity controller does is it talks to our web GUI, the xClarity administrator, which allows you to actually manage remotely up to 1,000 systems per xClarity administrator instance. And new to our portfolio, new to the xClarity family is xClarity Orchestrator, which is the manager of managers. When we start to tier these, and that's where you can actually manage multiple instances of xClarity Administrator, which in that instance you can actually start to manage up to, or at least monitor up to 10,000 systems in one fell swoop, which is pretty impressive.
Yeah, it's a comprehensive management solution. That's excellent. Yeah. All right. So there you have it. This is the ThinkSystem SR860 V2. 4U 4-socket server with additional support for up to 4 double-wide GPUs. So really a very comprehensive high-performance package.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, and once again, kind of as we cap this off, is we're looking at scalability, we're looking at ultimate performance, we're looking at addressing those kind of next generation workloads that we're seeing a lot of our customers start to ask us about, and as to how they implement them within their own environments.
Yeah. Now, if you're looking for more information about the server, we've got a product guide on it. I put a link to the product guide in the description for the video. So if you're looking for information, check that out. Yeah. Adam, thanks so much for your time.
Thanks so much for having me, David.
Yep. I hope you found the video useful, and we'll see you later.